Greetings everybody and welcome to part 34 of how to unbox bomb skins in CSGO. Jokes and joke sets aside, because I'm about to enter the stage with FTG history part 4. While watching our already at that point half-decade long history, you probably worked out that there will be at least 42 CDO parts more. But wrong you are, friend, or maybe you're not my friend, I don't know. With everything that has parts, including games, movies, books, sexual acts and such, part 3 is always the best one. No matter what the EU Parliament, the climate change scientists or Steve says. Some notable and pretty solid proofs of my claims would be Rambo free, Star Wars Episode free, Ratchet and Clank free, Matrix free aka Revolutions, Pirates of the Caribbean free, Star Wars Battlefront free, Tekken free, Half-Life free, God of War free, Fallout free, Lord of the Hobbit free, Europa Universalis free, and people still play the inferior fourth one, am I right? Resident Evil free, Super Mario free, The Elder Scrolls free, Morrowind. I think you guys get the idea of how superior this argument really is. With that being said, part 4 will contain everything else from the end of 2015 up until the point of Battleground 3's release. Because, you know, in a way, everything that happened before BG3 led up to the point to shape us to what we are today, you know? That's how you guys joined us, am I right? Part 4 is also very barren at times, because there were long periods where we didn't have a main game. We also had sections like Holdfast that never really took off due to a certain D&D game. And, you know, it took up all our member base's time for like 12 hours each Saturday. And it didn't last 4 to 9 weeks. No, this was like 2.5 year fucking D&D game. I mean, trust me. Originally, I only had 2 big sections to talk about in this part. But due to part 3 being packed, I had to move the so-called outside of FTG stuff into this part. So we'll see that one towards the end, won't we? Yeah. So I guess it's time to start, yeah. FTG history part 4, everybody. It was one late December night, 2015. The FTG regiment in W was dead. We were shelling out on our TeamSpeak in our usual FTG camp. I got a message from somebody, and I actually don't remember who you were, so yeah, sorry. But he told me to check the BG2 server list, and he asked me if, you know, we had reformed or something, and I was stunned, so I even took a screenshot. And there was a server named 42CDO Forever. I don't actually know who did this, but hey dude, you're a legend. Fucking call me or something, am I right? I even shared this with Yoda Pro 36 because, you know, I thought it was kind of ironic. So Yo asked for our TeamSpeak IP and joined in to chat. And it was during this very historic discussion he asked if we should reform in BG2. Obviously, I thought he was joking because, you know, even though we were on good terms at the time, why go back to what caused so many issues and broke us all apart? But after a couple of convincing talks, I was in on it. He was to be the leader of this and I was to be his second in command. Like the good old days, yeah? On the 28th of December, a Steam group was created and Yo even launched a forum for us, and I cannot access these forums anymore, so there are no screenshots from that forum, yeah. The big difference was though that we were gonna be called the 42nd Regiment of Foot and not 42CDO. Yo actually refused to use the name 42CDO as he didn't wanna associate with the old 42CDO. I did spend a lot of time re-recruiting all our members from 42CDO. Many were thrilled and surprised to see that me and Joe had made things up, because, you know, this was back in the days when everybody wasn't aware of that shit, so, you know. Also, Yo had 2 demands on members that weren't allowed to rejoin. And the first one being Fireboy, and since you're all loyal subscribers that watched part 1 and 2, I think I don't need to explain this one. And the second member who wasn't allowed to rejoin was Stormy Aaron, and that's because I explained in details about the FTG regiment and how Stormy almost got me to quit. So Yo saw it as a potential issue if somebody managed to push me to the point of leaving, and I mean, you know, maybe other people should have taken this lesson in 2020, am I right? Yo also wanted to push the age limit up, so, you know, it was lucky that some people like Jojan had gotten older, otherwise he would have been excluded. Something Joe even told Jojan, and poor Jojan, he actually thought he was joking. We decided to use the FTG's TeamSpeak. I just renamed some channels, I mean, you know, as usual, am I right? The climate of BG2 was not a whole different from when we left in 2013. There was the 29th, and anybody who's played BG2 and BG3 already know them. And then there was the 49th, who were pretty much a collection of members from all other former clans, even from us. And there was also some minor 5 to 7 man scrim team clans that I don't remember the names of. Sorry guys. A thing to note is that many people in the 49th are today what is known as the 66th. And 49th was also the ones we probably had the most issues and drama with. It all actually started with our first scrim against them, naturally, because despite having like a decent sized roster like they did, they used 2 ringers against us. And if you remember, ringers are players that aren't actually in the 49th, they're other people that are very good at the game, and then they invite them in and they're like, yeah, help us show these motherfuckers. So it was kind of insulting to some of us, because originally this had been a huge issue in BG2's past, the BGUs and all of that. And like, this was the welcome back that we got. It's like we got stomped like it was some kind of joke, like haha. In line battles against them, Joe would often call out if they weren't in line properly before shooting off a volley, and there was a lot of trash talk back and forth actually from like both sides. And I even have here like a screenshot from the team chat, because I happened to be logged into the console during one of the matches, and yeah, pretty funny stuff, ain't it? So some line battles became pretty chaotic, because I mean, you've probably seen in BG3 when there's like one little kid like Ryan who goes off in the text chat and Stargate gets mad at him. Imagine if it was like 10 guys from each side going on constantly and there's nothing you can do to stop them. And there was also issues in the 42nd Regiment that slowly grew. For the most part, me and Joe remained cool with each other, but there were many members who they actually managed to get into issues with Joe in one way or another. The first and the most noteworthy one was Lapja, because they had a bunch of smaller fights, him and Joe, and there was a line battle. After that line battle I went AFK to smoke, and a big argument between them apparently broke out in front of all the members. And like right then and there, in front of all the members, Yo banned Lapja from our TeamSpeak. And this is something I wasn't aware of until like 2 weeks later at least. People like Joker, Don, Zodiac, Johan, Jedi, all of them were right there and saw it. None of them said a word to me. Not even Lapja himself said anything until 2 weeks later. And since Lapja is a member of FTG, and him being banned from our TeamSpeak because, I mean, they have some like argument, it's a huge red flag for me. The 2 other people were Johan and Jedi. They actually ended up in an argument with Yo, because there was gonna be a scrim and Yo was asking people to join in, but it was late and Johan and Jedi, they were playing some other game and shit like that. And this started like a huge fucking drama between them where they were gonna be demoted and blah blah blah. So ultimately they just left the 42nd. But they were still in our TeamSpeak because, it's FTG's TeamSpeak. But Yo had huge issues with this because Johan and Jedi had some EU4 game that took place on Saturdays. And it took between 4 to 6 hours. I don't know, it's a short EU4 game for some reason. But Yo felt like they were doing this in defiance of him, because usually a BG2 event would happen at that time. And many members that were weak for some map simulator game, they decided to play that rather than BG2. So then there was a Saturday where Joe asked for some kind of TeamSpeak admin, which he had gotten removed when I had found out he banned Lapja. But I thought to be fair to him, so I gave him admin, and it didn't even take 4 seconds after me giving him admin and he banned Johan or Jedi or like kicked them, something like that. But they were obviously like unbanned within seconds after that, but it was another huge red flag for me. So I told Joe that we're using your TeamSpeak for the 42nd Regiment because I don't want any further harm to come to FTG. The drama actually reached me and Joe in the middle of all of this because Joe had explained to Greedy Chris how I did nothing to stop Johan and Jedi from doing their EU4 game. So Greedy Chris took the stage and started going at me. I ended up actually not talking back at all because there was nothing to talk back about really. There was nothing I was gonna do against them, and they knew this. So this made Greedy Chris even angrier, so he left the 42nd. Right after this wonderful drama, we had a line battle against the 49th. Neither me or Joe talked to each other during this line battle outside of the normal line battle stuff. It wasn't until a member pointed out that the 49th had still not won a single round yet, and that's when it hit me. We were winning big time over them. The score ended up being 10-0 to us, and I found out later that this loss caused a huge drama in the 49th that almost made them disband. So despite the fact that I had this whole line battle recorded, I never uploaded it in respect of the 49th. There really isn't much else to say about the 42nd Regiment. Like in the old BG2, we took part in a rigged BGU with the same people in multiple teams. You know, you heard the story before. 29th has some videos uploaded on line battles we had against them, so just, search on YouTube like 29th versus 42nd BG2 or something. But that one on the snow map though, I'm on a roll there, I can tell you that much. Johan also has 2 videos uploaded where me, PMH and Jojan win a 3v10 charge. Pretty good stuff. Even though we lost like 8-2 in that line battle. The 42nd Regiment became more inactive towards the end of April, since Joe couldn't be online as often, so more responsibility fell to me. And on the 13th of April, Joe and me had a small talk where we decided to close the 42nd Regiment. I thanked him and said I was glad things were friendlier between us this time around. Then he deleted me on Steam. In response to this, I actually blocked him, which will play a huge part in 2019, but I didn't know that back then, yeah. When we quit BG2 for the final time, I ended up talking with a lot of the 49th people. Some of them are in 66 today, so we know each other, yeah. And we even managed to settle, on very friendly terms. And here's actually a forum post on their forum where Caveman Jimmy himself speaks on the matter. I hope to see you all in the future. Yes we will, Jimmy. Yes we will. I also kept attending the 29th's Saturday public line battle until they ended a year later. All in all, the 42nd Regiment lasted from December to April, which makes it one of the short-lived sections that we have been involved in. What was important is that a lot of re-recruiting happened and people realized that we still existed, so there was actually a couple of people that stuck around even after this. This section I just called minor stuff. I mean, what the fuck? And 2016 was a, half important year as well, because a huge change happened, because we had been on TeamSpeak for the entire time, and in October our trustworthy free TeamSpeak server was shut down. The host, who I actually knew, he said that TeamSpeak has updated its rules for server boxes he had, and suddenly he had to pay to host servers. Before that it was free, so obviously he shut down all the 7 servers he was hosting. From what I was told, our server was the most active one of the ones he was hosting. But this is where our Discord comes into play, because as you can see here in the FTG chat, this is where it all started, this is where we appeared. In the beginning, Discord was kinda spooky for a lot of people. There were even people being like, oh my god, I'm gonna buy us a TeamSpeak server skill, don't worry. But after a while they all got used to it, and I'm used to it, so who the fuck cares? And after the 42nd Regiment we didn't really have a main game for a year or so, but most of the kiddos played CSGO still. They probably have some cool videos they can show you from back in the days, how they all got rolled in some nuke game every evening, yeah. I didn't start playing with them until 2018 though. Some of us actually missed NW a little bit, so many of us murked for the 5th FKI and their events. I even still have a video, so go watch that one, because it's a very important video in what takes part next, am I right? Because a lot of the FTG members still suckled for some NW action and the 5th FKI had their regiment going on, we decided to have a meeting about this at the end of May 2017. I don't exactly remember who was in this meeting. Maybe me, Lapja, Johan, Jetty. That's the only ones that I really remember. Maybe there were some other high-ranked 5th FKI dude. We had in mind to start a regiment together. Personally, I wanted a brigade between the 5th FKI and FTG, and being that I can read minds, I know that that's what the majority of the FTG members wanted as well. But instead we came to the agreement that we would create the 4E, which is a real French grenadier regiment from back in the Napoleon days. But I'm sure Sol and Aglox can fill you all in on the details about that. Me and Johan were to have the same ranks, and we were to pick NCOs, aka sergeants. I picked Lapja, and I don't know who Johan picked. But we were also gonna be responsible for the individual rank ups based on performance and such. So I was responsible for the FTG dudes rank ups, and Johan was responsible for the 5th FKI dudes rank ups. We even had a training map, which, we had a rank up area, some training areas, and it was a pretty cool map in general, yeah. So we started attending random events, and, I have a playlist of many of these events recorded, so you can, you just go check them out or something, give them a like or 5, please. It also gives you a good insight in how things were going back then, come on. There were actually not that many huge problems in the beginning, to be honest, except a few minor things that I had already expected to happen. And it's basically whenever both me and Johan attended, we had the most numbers. But if, for example, I was not there, then the majority of FTG wouldn't attend. And the other way around, if Johan wasn't there, then the majority of the 5th FKI wouldn't attend. One 5th FKI member actually admitted this openly in a meeting where we were discussing attendance. He said he saw Johan as the leader because he had the personality for that kind of role, while I didn't. Oh my god, finally somebody who understands me. But Johan actually defended me in many of these cases, which was nice. Like, there was some round where Innet started complaining how I was leading the line, and Johan said to her, "Innet, you lead next round, okay?" And after that she didn't say anything for years. We're still waiting for her to come back, yeah. So for the first 2 months, things actually went pretty smooth. But then, minor issues started to become major issues. It started pretty innocently how Lapja raised concern about how the 5th FKI members were getting, promoted, like a lot of them, while the FTG members weren't. Something that didn't bother me at all, because FTG at this point were full of people who didn't dare say a word about anything or step up if it was needed. Like if both me, Johan, and the sergeants were taken out in a line battle, there was never an FTG member who stepped up to take the lead. It was always a 5th FKI member. I openly shared this concern with the FTG members, but they, said nothing in their lack of stepping up. But Lapja kept on bringing this up, and I even went out of my way to rank up 3 FTG members one time, even though none of them really deserved it, yeah. Eventually, me and Lapja, mid-July, we drifted into a pretty heavy argument, where he was starting to talk about how the 5th FKI had, they were gonna do some hostile regiment takeover, and started making references to things that took place in the FTG regiment years prior. These things were in the past, and it was, from my point of view, unnecessary and insulting to bring them up, since things had vastly improved since. And as far as everybody else was concerned, nothing was really going on. Lapja did, however, leave after a heavy argument between us, and that left me in an even tougher spot, because I had to promote somebody else. And keep in mind that during this time Stargate was only around every now and then, and it's still years before the rise of the Stargatian Empire. And Joker, during the FTG regiment time, refused to lead. People like Don and Esto and so on didn't want to be promoted either, so I actually had to resort to promoting Init to sergeant. Even though things like these aren't really big dramas, they're still very frustrating personally for me, because many members, they're like, "Yes, Gil, we want this," and I'm like, "Okay, you want to help out?" And they're like, "No, I have work, skill." It's like, "Oh yeah, you have work. I have worked for the fucking majority of the years this have taken place, but thank you for the support." Anyway, even though Lapja had left, I had actually blocked him, and since he was hanging out on Discords that I was hanging out on, and I had to see people message him every day as I, was carrying out our side of the 4E forward. On one of these Discords in particular, I was one of the admins, and I even had allowance from the head admin to ban him if I wanted. But unlike, what logical beings like Madshark thinks, I don't use my powers for personal satisfaction, and this is probably the best example of such. The 4E continued as usual for a couple of months, but things kinda went dead late September or early October. I don't actually remember when it happened. It's kinda unclear exactly, but many members, they started to voice to me that they wanted to have a brigade with 5th FKI and not be a single regiment, which, was what I had suggested from the start. Me and Johan discussed this a bit, but we didn't really come up with a brigade name, but we were gonna find one out for when we were going into Holdfast as a brigade. So this marked the end of 4E officially as a regiment. This also caused Lapje to seek me out and talk to me after, half a year had passed almost. He actually had to message somebody else on another Discord to talk to me to unblock him. And the moment I unblocked him, our argument continued where it had left off for a solid hour before we reached common ground. After that, he rejoined. But then during a November evening, me and Jetty came into a political argument that caused Jetty to create a new Discord. And around the 20th of November, the 5th FKI kinda moved over to that Discord. The dates and times are kinda hard to know for sure because I think this was a process that took a little bit of time. It was a slow process rather than, one that took place over a day. Because the mod log, I've looked back in it and it shows members leaving at different days and members have enrolled, removed at different days, so there's no clear date this happened. And the argument between me and Jetty can still be found up in the FTG chat far up there somewhere. But as of today, we have resolved issues between us and are best buddies forever, am I right? Outside of FTG stuff mainly focuses on me. That's why I tend to keep it kinda short and only give you kiddos the details that you guys find interesting. And also keep in mind that if you don't think that this is important for FTG, my legacy and fame is all done while wearing FTG tags. Since a lot of times people ask me where the tags come from and I have to give them a half detailed story. There are even cases of people that, start wearing our tags despite not being fully associated with us because the tags represent so much more than line battles. But it actually started around 2013 and it was during the time where I thought FTG wasn't gonna live much longer, so I set out into the unknown world of the Steam community to see where I would end up and what I could find. Innocently enough, I started off where most people actually start off, which is the Steam Universe, Steam group chat. But it kinda became like one chat leads to another. I even ended up getting banned from the Girl Gamer Steam group chat because I decided to take my stand against one of the admins. Today, we're really good friends though, yeah. And if you foolishly think that a Steam group called Girl Gamer is for girls only, then go check out their current Discord, thank you very much. But eventually I ended up in Feed Me Pixels and Steam Companion. And it was after that things really evolved. I started doing giveaways on Steam Companion and even became a moderator there, helping people out in the chat. The site is no longer active, but I still managed to log in through Steam and I can show you all the giveaways that I made there. I made a lot of them, as you guys can probably tell, and a huge part of the fame I obtained was from this. I was also made admin in Feed Me Pixels, which is the second tag in my name, as you can see in these screenshots. But then of course, the drama. Dramas outside of FTG are actually not as common as you may think, but sometimes they're pretty big in scale. Because of my rising fame and always being in the Steam Companion group chat, I was eventually approached by a guy called Sals. He was the owner of Original Traders Group, which at the time was a pretty new small Steam group, but he wanted help by somebody who had know-how in running things and making things happen. So I took him up on the deal and became one of his moderators. At the start it was actually all good and fun, as it usually is. I even became good friends with the co-founder, who was a guy called Uno/Moire. Him and his brother Straxy actually joined the FTG Regiment at the time and played NW with us. You can even see them in the videos. Hurry up, go check it out. The Original Traders group had a goal to become big, and this was during the time when reviews and curators became a big thing on Steam, so Sals didn't want to miss out on that. My tasks were mainly about overseeing things and other staff members, and every now and then I was given small tasks like this review and such. And in the beginning a lot of things were done with good intentions. Like I remember one group chat member we had who had paid to enter some raffle for a CSGO knife, but instead of the raffle ending when it was supposed to, it was extended. It's a very typical so-called raffle group scam that people do, and people still join them, I don't know why. But both me and Sals actually did raids with other members in these group chats, and it was some really wholesome moments when, we came in there and were like, oh, so you guys scam people, and they were like, oh, we don't scam, trust me, ban these people quick. The problems, however, started to occur when Sals started losing himself in the power that he started to obtain. Staff that left because of disagreements, they were often hunted and reported and their reviews downvoted. The tasks of, liking reviews soon changed to dislike this review, report this review, report this group. Obviously I didn't do any of that, but it was kinda when I started to realize that I was in deep and there was gonna be bigger issues. I could feel that something bad was gonna happen. The group chat itself started to become very toxic. There were certain users who were openly homophobic and openly sexist, but Sals viewed these as active users, and because of that, they couldn't be punished. Eventually, I ended up given a small text thingy in the chat, and then I left the Steam group. Sals tried to re-invite me to the chat for about a week, before eventually turning hostile on me. It was a pretty long and very one-sided chat, so I'll only show you near the end of it, yeah. He was to some parts right, because I never stated the full reasons of me leaving, because I'd rather not have his loyalists spying on me or reporting me and shit like that. And there were actually many admins and moderators. They said to me in DMs that they understand what I meant, but they were gaining fame because of this, because of their reviews and projects that they did for Sals, so they didn't dare say anything. And 1 month after me leaving, Sals reappeared in the Steam Companion group chat and once more started a hostile convo with me. He also claimed he had dev status, which gave him access to Steam admins, and he could easily report me for all kinds of things. All empty threats to keep me quiet. Almost a month later, he however sent an email to a dev, because he wanted keys from the dev, so they could review their games. However, displeased with not getting the reply from the dev, he resorted to threats, which, was not very smart. The dev, who has made Natural Selection and Subnautica, instead put the email on Twitter, which was the final nail in the coffin for some of the other admins and moderators, even for some group chat regulars. I was invited to this lovely reunion and rejoined the group chat for the first time in almost 2 months, and here you can even see some of the other admins verifying that they're quitting. These screenshots are taken from a paste bin that's 2,700 rows text from the group chat from that day. Many wanted to confront Sals at this point and make him realize his mistakes. He was not really faced with the issue at hand, and many times gave actually bigger focus on me for some reason, and even other people in the chat that he started banning. There was a lot of people adding me at the time, as I had left before this happened and taken a stance against Sals earlier than most. There were other staff members that left before, but I was the first really big one. It's one of the few times FTG skill has been regarded as a hero, an example for the rest. I did at the time try and share this with other FTG members, and even try and get them to join in on it, but they didn't fucking care at all about this. Just look at this. This is a post I made on our forum at the time to explain what was going on. Somebody, however, moved this to the trash can. Thanks a lot, bro. But of course, despite all of this, and that proof existed against Sals, and the fact that he tried to manipulate the review system, Steam only gave him a slap on the wrist and said, please read the guidelines for Steam reviews. From what I understand though, the original traders group is now known as the original network and has made up for the times, and they have become a better group. While making this, I actually rejoined their Steam group, but it's filled with auto spammers that spam trade links every hour or so. So it's time to join their Discord. So anyways, that's pretty much all about that. I can mention that I've done giveaways on Steam gifts as well, although not to the same extent as Steam Companion. But giveaways today are pretty useless because Today you can just go to the Epic Game Store and pick up GTA 5 for the 80th time this month because China rules the market. I actually been in contact with a dev myself at one point for a Steam group project. It was the dev for the game Obey. Obey is a pretty chill multiplayer game where you play as a cute little bunny and collect resources for this tower, and then you enter it and shoot the shit out of the other players, and then you win, yeah? Pretty good game, to be honest. There are various other places I've been mod and admin over the years. It's far too many for me to mention, like the fancy ass Poodle Noodle Society, or aka Fappen. Probably know about that one, yeah. So as the years went on in FTG, gradually less and less people showed up from day to day. So we became a little friends group pretty much, where, moderator was handed out just because it was peaceful times and nothing really happened. There was a few problems here and there, but it's mostly 2 people and it never evolved further than that. CSGO, Insurgency, PUBG, Destiny 2 and other random games were usually on the menu for us. We tried a Holdfast Regiment a couple of times, but it was usually cut short due to events that we attended randomly closing, or 90% of our members attending some D&D game where their character got killed every time. There are some videos from when we tried Holdfast though, go check those out, yeah. Bannerlord was still seen as ages away, but there was another game that started creeping into our Discord, and I'm of course talking about everybody's favorite game, Battlegrounds 3. I mean, I was even one of the testers. But there were many uncertainties about Battlegrounds 3, though some members, they were very for expanding into it. There were also many who were against it. I was often given shit about this, months before Battlegrounds 3 was released. Skill, do you really think BG3 can sustain our community for many years? Do you really think, Skill, that people want to go back on Strange Ways and fight the 29th in line battles? How do you plan this, and how do you plan that? Why have you not started recruiting yet, Skill? Do you really think, Skill, that BG3 will last more than 3 months? How many members do you think will actually return? Trust me, the frustration was sky high some days. How 3 to 5 months prior to BG3's release I had to answer questions like that on a daily fucking basis. My plans for BG3 were, plain and simple and very unacceptable. We were to be called FTG from the start. We would have a made up rank system and not one taken from some real life fucking regiment from back in the Stone Age. I mean, come on. But there were wild protests about this, and we had to be called 42CDO. We had to have a militarized, point-based ranking system. There was a lot of skill, this is what we want, but never a skill, what do you want? But with that being said, I never had any big plans for BG3. And at this point I was pretty out of ideas, because I had already tried everything in the past and failed at it, so I had no solid plan. BG3 was first scheduled to release the first weekend of my vacation 2019, but a last minute delay pushed it to release on the last weekend of my vacation. Terrible. And there it is, yeah, the second last part of this, and the next part will be the last. I've not completely decided where it ends yet, but I'll figure that out someday when I make it. I'm sure it will be a good time for everybody, yeah.